First of all, we would like to say thanks for the opportunity the Creator gave us to be here today. We have everything we need. We have the environment, the books, the teacher, and the most important thing, the friends. We want to give thanks to the force that stands behind each one of us, choosing us again and holding the environment for us. Following that, we are thankful for anticipation of the whole CLE, and we're thankful for the opportunity we had to do this preparation together with Brazil. 3. We discussed the subject of the prayer of many started there, and here we want to achieve the prayer of many to reveal the Creator. We'll go on to a source excerpt from Balsam letter 52. While they speak, I listen. Meaning, the measure of the Creator's hearing depends precisely on the measure of the longing that appears during the saying of the prayer. When one feels excessive longing, he should know at that time that the Creator is listening to him attentively. Clearly, when he knows this, he pours his heart out even stronger. For there is no greater privilege than the King of the world being attentive to him. Again, while they speak, I listen. Meaning, the measure of the Creator's listening depends precisely on the measure of the longing that appears during the saying of the prayer. When one feels excessive longing, he should know at that time that the Creator is listening to him attentively. Clearly, when he knows this, he pours his heart out even stronger. For there is no greater privilege than the King of the world being attentive to him. Brazil, go ahead for an active workshop. How do we strengthen in the pouring of the heart so that the Creator will hear our prayer? Again, how do we strengthen in pouring out our heart so that the Creator will hear our prayers? Active workshop. In order to strengthen in the prayer of the heart, in pouring out of the heart, we need to strengthen in the prayer of the heart. And this is something we can do together, that each one will feel that he truly depends on the 10. Each one will feel that he belongs to the 10, and then we will be able to strengthen this process of pouring out our heart, and then the Creator will hear our prayer. We will strengthen from our prayers, from our desire. We'll simply continue to draw the light that reforms, and will certainly grow stronger. The one who is happy is the one who is despaired of his own forces, but of course not from the forces of the 10 or the Creator. So we should simply make efforts towards connection and expect salvation and help from the friends and from the Creator. We need to more qualitatively get to the state where we must receive help, because otherwise, well, there's all kinds of otherwise. And as it says, if you don't help us, we are lost. To really reach a state where we have no desire and need to feel that we're acting, but only to feel that the Creator is the one who works. The Creator is he who allows all our actions to happen, and we just want to try and do to reach a request from him. We have in the 10 a common heart that cries out to the Creator every day, every moment. And if we will get closer and connect more between us even more, then we will discover it and will truly be able to pour out a prayer. I also think that only according to the efforts to get closer, not to think of oneself, and always the urge to come out of oneself and think of the friends in the 10. In this way, I want to say a few words of inspiration for the world. Play. Let our hearts see the merits of our friends and all their faults. That each one speak of his friend in a way that is desirable to you. Strengthen us with love towards you, and may everything give you contentment. And if we don't have the intelligence to aim our hearts towards you, then you will teach us. And for all of that, graceful and merciful Creator, we ask that you will accept our prayer. Amen. Thank you very much. Hello friends, in the first part of the lesson we'll watch a lesson from Rob Laitman from October 22nd, 2021, based on the article Shamadi 6. What is support? In the work, in the Torah, in the work, and you can find it in KabbalahMedia.info, also in the Study Materials tab in the Root System. Shamari 6. Shalom. Hello everyone. We are learning from the writings of Balasam. Chamarti. Article 6. What is support in the Torah in the work? You can find this in the Arvid system and in our site. You can also ask questions through the chat, and questions will be asked during the course of the lesson. Article 6. What is support in the Torah in the work? Yeah, it's just that several people approached me a few days ago, and it's actually not the first time. They approached me and asked to learn the articles of Shamarti in order, so we can at least go over them once. So, we will have a clear and agreed upon basis in a uniform understanding so that, on that basis, we will be able to relate to the purpose of life, purpose of creation to our development in a uniform way. So it will collect us and connect us, and we'll be able to advance more toward our goal. And therefore, we will try each day to go over an article or a part of an article depending on how long it is from Shamarti, until we go over all of them. Of course, there's a lot of material before us. There are long articles of Balasam that have to do with science, the perception of reality. There is this or there's a lot of material. We have the study of the 10th field. We have these mountains. These high mountains in the horizon. But advancing toward them has to be with the right tools, so that when we come to them, we will know why and how to approach them, how to relate to them, how to study them, and what vessels within us we need to fill up with this material when we reach them. So in the meantime, we have the articles of Shamarti ahead of us. It is certain that you have already read all of them or most of them. But reading together is something else. If we read it together and together, means that we yearn for one purpose. Understand that it is unattainable alone, but only together, and therefore our efforts are toward connection on top of the material of the article. But we should not leave the connection between us, and along with the connection, we go into the article, otherwise the results will be far less effective, far less powerful than it should be. Go ahead. Writings of Balasam Shamarti Article 6. What is support in the Torah in the work? When one learns Torah and wants all his actions to be in order to bestow, by which he equalizes with the Creator, one must try to always have support in the Torah. Support is considered nourishment, which is love, fear, elation, and freshness, and so on. This is what sustains him and directs him toward the Creator, toward adhesion with the Creator. Yes, one should extract all this from the Torah, meaning the Torah should give him these results. In other words, learning Torah means we have to accept all those love, fear, elation, freshness, so that we will have it when we turn toward the Creator. However, when one learns Torah and does not have these results, it is not considered Torah. Since Torah refers to the light clothed in the Torah, this light should give us these feelings, this relation to reality, to the Creator, to the society, to everything, everyone. If we study and it doesn't open our hearts, our feelings, our minds, brings us closer to the society and through the society to the Creator, then we're probably not learning Torah. As our sages said, I have created the evil inclination. I have created the Torah as a spice. This refers to the light in it. It says the light in it reforms him. What we said, that it's love, fear, elation, freshness, etc. All those are results of the light that influences us. We learn, and if we don't have these results from the study, then there is no light during the study. Andrew is probably that we're not learning Torah. We can read, we can know what is written, we can be very astute in this, intellectually clever, but it doesn't create changes in us, and this is why it's not considered learning Torah, but knowledge. Yes, we should also know that the Torah is divided into two discernments. One Torah, to mitzvah commandment. In fact, it is impossible to understand These two discernments before one is awarded in walking in the path of the Creator by way of the counsel of the Lord. It's with those who fear Him. This is so because when one is in a state of preparation to enter His palace, it is impossible to understand the path of truth. However, it is possible to give an example that even a person in the preparation period can somewhat understand. It is as our sages said, Asif said, a mitzvah protects and saves while practiced. The Torah protects and saves both when practiced and when not practiced. The thing is that when practiced refers to when one has some light. One can use this light that he obtained only while the light is still with him, as now he is in gladness because of the light that shines for him. This is discerned as a mitzvah, meaning that he has not yet been rewarded with the Torah, but elicits a life of holiness only from the light. This is not so with the Torah. When one attains some way in the work, one can use the way he has attained even when he is not practicing it. That is, even while he does not have the light. This is so because only the illumination has departed from him, but he can use the way that he attained in the work, even when the illumination leaves him. Still we must know that while practiced, a mitzvah is greater than the Torah when not practiced. When practiced means that now one receives the light. This is called practiced. When one receives the light in it, while one has the light, a mitzvah is more important than the Torah. When one has no light, meaning when there is no vitality of the Torah, on one hand, the Torah is important, because one can use the way one has acquired in the Torah. On it is without the vitality called light. In a time of mitzvah, one does receive vitality called light. Therefore, in this respect, a mitzvah is more important. Thus, when one is without vitality, he is considered wicked, since now he cannot say that the Creator leads the world in a matter of the good who does good. This is called that he is called wicked since he condemns his Maker, as now he feels that he has no vitality and has nothing to be glad about. So he can say, then now he thanks the Creator for giving him delight and pleasure. One cannot say that he believes that the Creator leads his guidance over others in a manner of good and doing good, since we understand the path of Torah as a sensation in the organs. If one does not feel the delight and pleasure, what does it give him that another person has delight and pleasure? If one had believed that the providence is revealed as good and doing good to his friend, that faith should have brought him delight and pleasure from believing that the Creator leads the world with the guidance of delight and pleasure. If it does not bring him vitality and joy, what is the benefit in saying that the Creator does watch over his friend with a guidance of good and doing good? The most important is what one feels in one's own body. Whether he feels good or bad, a person enjoys his friend's pleasure only if he enjoys his friend's benefit. In other words, we learn that with the sensation of the body, the reasons are not important. It is only important if he feels good. In that state he says that the Creator is good and does good. If one feels bad, he cannot say that the Creator behaves with him in a manner of good and doing good. Thus precisely if he enjoys his friend's happiness and receives high spirits from this and feels gladness because his friend feels good, then he can say that the Creator is a good leader. If one has no joy, he feels bad. Thus how can he say that the Creator is good and does good? Therefore, a state where one has no vitality and gladness is already a state where he has no love for the Creator and the ability to justify his Maker and be happy, as is appropriate with one who is granted serving a great and important king. I think that we should try to understand the article thus far, and the other half we will study it in another lesson. What is your impression? Should we read like this or in a different way, or maybe go piece by piece? act according to questions and answers. Or I maybe should try to explain, but it's difficult for me to explain accord without questions and answers because I don't know how you feel the article, how you see it. So let's first of all tell me what is your impression. Is it easy to listen in this way, or should we divide it into shorter pieces? Please, see. Questions only from Israel. Why? 12. No. Okay. You said to approach the article from connection, that if not for connection, the article can't receive it. So how to hold on to this, maintain it? We have to constantly how we accept the article with a common heart and a common ear and how it can affect us. Then when we try to be connected and how the article affects us when we want to be connected, when we want to relate to the Creator who connects us like that. Latin 1. Thank you, Rav. On one hand, Sir asked, you asked about learning the articles in small portions. I feel so, yes. On the other hand, what do you mean when we're talking about the happiness of the friend here? Is this joy like a child as? What kind of joy is spoken about here? I'm speaking about joy from learning the articles and trying to connect in order to understand them. Because if we don't connect, we won't understand the essence of the article, because then, instead of all we will get from the article is knowledge, intellect. But if we want to get reforming light, we have to be connected among us. In other words, there is a source, a higher source which influences us. If we are separate as after the breaking of the vessel of Adam, and we are separated pieces, it influences us with knowledge on each and everyone. If we try to connect among us, then it influences effort to connect, and then, by organizing the connection between us, then we feel the Torah. In other words, our process of advancement towards this light, towards the Creator. So here it's very important how we learn by connecting among us, and then we are learning Torah, or by each one with his own intellect, when it's each one with his own intellect, and then we're learning knowledge. That's the main point. The articles of Shati are especially in order to learn to meaning the reforming light. Because if we exert to be connected together, the light influences our efforts from above and creates a connection between us. And to the extent of the connection between us, we begin to feel the spiritual system between us, the connections between us, which are already called attaining the connection and love. And in it, we feel the upper force, the Creator, which in this way builds of us a corrected vessel. And according to the building of the vessel, he is revealed there. Maybe there's a mistake in the translation. I meant that this part writes here that Rash told us about. It says here that someone has to look for the joy in his friend. What joy are we looking for in the friend? I'm not exactly sure what you mean. I don't know. Where is it written that we have to look for some middle here? It's written specifically if he enjoys that from his friend has good, he receives upliftment from this, and he receives joy. That his friend feels good, then he can say that the Creator is a good leader. So Roberto is asking here, what is this about feeling joy for the friend and so on? Well, it's when I want to see the friend happy, and that makes me happy too. Perhaps I'm in the opposite state. But if I look at them, and I see that they do feel the Creator is good, I can connect to them in order to justify the Creator, and then I too enter that good as well. Okay, of Africa. All right, Africa. Good morning, Rav. You answered my question, but I'd just like to say that I think I'm reading the articles paragraph by paragraph, or where you explain the paragraph. I think that probably is the best way to learn. No. Okay, we'll take it into consideration. Hungarian Polish. Shalom. Shalom. I agree with the friend of Africa. It's totally felt in this article that there is a thought that wants to explain a process. And it's also really emotional and practical, and your input at each and Every paragraph will be really important. Because there is we can get completely lost in so many discernments one after the other, and some even are completely new. So I wanted to say thank you for the friends who came to see you to ask for this systemic review. And thank you again for your explanation. Okay, I got it. So we're going to, oh, you have women info today. Let's see what they say. Women info. Question from a friend. What is, and what is according to the article? The mitzvot commandments are actions by which we get closer to the Creator. And for every such move closer, we have to get reforming light first of all, and through it get closer, and then according to our approaching we receive within us inner light, understanding, attainment in the Creator. This is the commandment, where we take actions step by step which bring us closer to the Creator, and then we feel how we're marching along the way. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, the Torah is called the general light that reforms, meaning promotes us. So we've got Torah and commandments, and besides we have the learning itself, which is unrelated to the spiritual advancement, but only to knowing that it's written in the books, in the articles. A person learns according to the point in his heart, according to his disposition toward the purpose of life. If it worries him, he advances. And if it doesn't worry him, then he's not learning Torah. He's just learning knowledge. So there's a difference if you're learning Torah or knowledge. And it's not really, it doesn't really depend on the person, but on the root of his soul. If his inner point in heart shines burning, then he needs the Torah. And if the point still isn't burning, then he's learning philosophy. He is learning a certain approach. He's learning knowledge, information. This is the big difference between people who approach both life and all the teachings, and especially the wisdom of Kabbalah, because that is the why many people come to the wisdom of Kabbalah out of curiosity. But those who stay in it are those who really want to get closer to the meaning of life, essence of life, to reveal the Creator. And those for whom it's not important, the essence of life, the purpose of life, why we live. They're just happy knowing about the systems, about the knowledge, the philosophy, about what is happening. Psychology, they kind of circle it. In short, each one in the end is drawn according to the desire in his heart. And we normally see it in people who come to us, that those who stay with us are those who have no choice. They cannot leave, because they cannot through any other method. Philosophical, psychological, historical, geographical, you name it. They cannot satisfy their inner desire in the heart, and that desire demands of them to know, what am I living for? And that's why they stay in the rest. Although they were good friends of ours at the time, they feel they have more of an inclination to other things that are seemingly close to the wisdom of Kabbalah, to history, geography, religion, and other such things. So they leave. That's it. So then we will go to read this article again, right? And let's see what is happening. Try to ask afterwards according to what we will read. I recommend that you switch off all the questions and ask only according to what we will read now. Clear? Good. Thank you very much. So, article number 6. What is supporting the Torah in the work? When one learns Torah and wants all his actions to be in order to bestow, which is already his direction, he already knows that this is so, that this is what he wants. One must try to always have support in the Torah, meaning support is considered nourishment, which is love, fear, elation, and freshness, and so on. They help him because they are a result of the correct learning. One should extract all this from the Torah from learning, meaning the Torah should give him these results of love, fear, elation, and freshness, and so on. If something is not clear, you can ask. However, when one learns Torah and does not have these results, it is not considered Torah, since Torah refers to the light in the Torah. Meaning, what does it mean that I'm learning Torah when I hope that in what I read or hear there is some inner force that influences me and changes me. It opens my heart, opens my mind. It directs me toward feeling the inner force of creation. And that I'll feel it mainly in the heart, because the heart is my feelings and man is emotion. We are only a desire to receive. So for my will to receive, to open up and be more and more sensitive to all the influences from learning to, the more I'm connected to the friends I seemingly want to emerge from my ego, expand my tools of perception, and the more I want to receive from learning the source of the Torah, the upper light, in developing my vessel, my heart, through connection with the friends, and in drawing the upper light on me through the learning what I'm reading. I create a meeting between my desire that's been expanded through the friends and the upper light which I draw through the Torah. In this way, I begin to work on myself. However, when one learns Torah and does not have these results, it is not considered Torah, since To refers to the light clothed in the Torah. In other words, as our sages said, I have created the evil inclination. I have created the Torah is a spice. The reciprocs. In other words, this is what I intend. I am aiming for the upper force, or through my preparation in connection with the friends and by yearning for this upper force. What do I want? I wanted to open up the desires, my desires, and the friends' desires connect us, give us an expanded vessel. And in this vessel we'll begin to feel all kinds of phenomena. And by this I emerge from myself. And I'll stop being afraid of losing myself. What will come of my ego. On the contrary, I will rise above it and connect with the general, the common desire. Let's say, from I tend to the Creator. We should also know that the Torah is divided into two discernments, Torah and mitzvah, commandment. In fact, it is impossible to understand these two discernments to commandment before one is awarded walking in the path of the Creator by way of the counsel of the Lord is with those who fear Him. In other words, before we take a few steps forward, we can understand the difference between the Torah and the commandment. This is so because when one is in a state of preparation, and we are in preparation with you to enter the Creator's palace, the place where we feel what is the upper light, who we are, what is the difference between us, each one, and the group where we are. It is impossible to understand the path of Torah, the truth, impossible. Therefore, we do it gradually. However, it is impossible to give an example. Says that even when a person is the preparation period, he can still somewhat understand, even though we still don't feel what is the light of the Torah according to our connection, how we receive it. We expand more, connect more, the light influences more. When we fall a little bit, we close. The light influences less, or the other way around. When the light influences more, we open up. When it influences less, we kind of fold in. It is as because when a person is in that state of preparation to enter the Creator's palace where he is before the light, before the Creator, it is impossible to understand the path of truth. We are still relatively in the dark. We don't know the reason for everything that's happening to us and how we, through our operations, draw the light in this way or another way. However, it is possible to give an example that even a person in the preparation period, we can still learn something from it, can somewhat understand. It is as our sages said. How do we learn these things? According to what they said, a commandment protects, saves, and saves while practiced. The Torah protects and saves when practiced and when not practiced. In other words, that's a difference between the Torah and the commandment. The commandment is a certain light that operates, and while it operates we can use it. The Torah is a general light that shines on us, covers us, wraps us, envelops us, and accordingly we also operate. So which is more important. So he's telling us that when practiced he's talking about the Torah refers to when one has some light that shines on him a little bit. He feels it. One can use this light that he obtained only while the light is still with him. Because now he's in joy because the light shines on him. And this is called commandment, meaning when the light shines and we feel it and accordingly are happy. This is called commandment. Law, meaning he is still not he is yet not been rewarded with the Torah. He has got this general feeling, and it doesn't matter what state he's in, but a commandment is something concrete, which now shines and therefore it sustains him. Only from the illumination he brings out livelier. Rather tar he attains some way in the work than this, that he attains he can make use of it even in the time when he is not practicing it, meaning even when he is, let's say, in zero in darkness. In any case, that same light that he had now too in some manner is in him, although not like it was, and this that it holds him maintains him, and in any case he doesn't lose his way, meaning that even in the time when he does not have this illumination, he still holds on to the way, and this is because that only the illumination has departed him, but the way he is acquired in the work he can make use even when the illumination leaves him. So it's like we're driving in the street. We have our lights. We're driving in the darkness in the street. Everything is fine. But let's say we don't have lights. There's no illumination, but we know that there is a path. There is a way. And the problem is with me and not in the path. And then in any case I make an effort to progress somehow, so I don't lose connection with the path. That's called that I am still in the aspect of Torah. This that it illuminates to me in the time of action of practice, that's called a mitzvah, a commandment. That which I lose the light and still am able to progress, that's called that I am in the aspect of Torah. And then he continues, still we must know that while practiced, a mitzvah is greater than the Torah when not practiced. Meaning, when practiced means that now one receives the light. When practiced, this is called practiced when one receives the light in it. Hence, while one has the light that illuminates to him, important than the Torah when one has no light. Thus, the mitzvah, when he has illumination, is more important than the Torah when he has no illumination. We will continue to the next part of the lesson from the 16th of May 2006, based on a preface from For the Wisdom of Carber. Item 16. You can find the study materials in our websites. So moving on, we're reading from the preface to the Wisdom of Kabbalah. This is item 16. We learned thus far that the Creator created the will to receive, and this will to receive exists in oppositeness of form to him, and in such a way it cannot even feel more than its own existence from the state of rest, because the will to receive and the pleasure neutralize each other in this common feeling. And so even though it's called the world of soft, this feeling of soft is very limited. The will to receive exists under the governance of the light, doesn't feel itself as created being, and it doesn't have the feeling of the deficiency and the pleasure together, which give the entire feeling of the revelation of the feeling, even though it. And so it's soft through the rule of the upper one, not in the feeling of the lower one. That should be according to the good who does good, the way it is, rooted in a thought of creation to do good to his creations. And so in that, creation is not complete, but rather the upper force should still bring the created being to the state that has been determined in advance, that the good who does good can only perform an act of complete benefit. And so the created being keeps continuing through the upper force that compels it. And this development is in order to bring the created being to equivalence of form, to the same state, the same status as the Creator. How is this done? That on the one hand, nevertheless, we need to keep the characteristic of the created being that he's the opposite of the Creator. He needs to exist to be independent, to exist on his own. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, he needs to be as the creator, because in spirituality, if it is the same, then it's not two, it is one. So how can the created being remain outside of the creator so that they are two and nevertheless there as one? So the creator creates the foundation of the created being, the will to receive, which is the opposite of him. But he brings the created being to a state where his will to receive takes on the form of complete bestow, just like the creator. And in that, according to the action, they become as one, and according to the original nature, they are opposite to each other. And then they exist as two, and both of them are on the same degree in that same state, which is whole complete. So how to bring the created being to that? But Assam explains it once with the example of the host and the guest, that the guest is ashamed of the host even though he very much yearns for all of the refreshments that the host has prepared for him. The host prepared his refreshments out of love, and the guest relays the refreshments. The moment he relates to the refreshments, then through the refreshments he feels the host, his love, and then he has an inner struggle, an inner collision between the desire out of his nature for the refreshments and his relation that has now been formed towards the host, to the extent that he recognizes the greatness of the host, and he has shame towards himself and the pleasure that exists in the refreshments opposite his desire. Then he begins to see within himself this system of relationships with the refreshments and the host as two separate systems, that in relation to the refreshments he has a will to receive, with the pleasure that upon this will to receive you can make a restriction. You can perform on the will to receive an act of receiving the pleasure. And with the host there is the matter of shame towards the host. This is how he feels within himself suddenly a force that neutralizes the pleasure for him, the pleasure from the refreshments. And then he also has the ability, the possibility, to invert his vessel to the opposite. It's not because he's ashamed not to receive the refreshments that by this he just keeps his ego, but to start using his specifically, this ego of his for the benefit of the host. Not to refuse because he's ashamed, but to refuse because he wants to delight the host, meaning his ego also, the egoistic will to receive, to invert it into giving. And by that he builds two systems. One system that works with the will to receive more or less, and the other system is his intentions towards the host, and in that it turns out that he comes out of the state of a receiver and becomes a giver. This example is the primary example. We need to see in this example the entire plan of creation. It's not just some nice side story, but rather this is the plan of the whole of creation, that later on we see in all the construction of the worlds and the Pufim and the Spiro, and what passes through them. We see the realization of this story, of this example, this allegory of how the created being reaches the purpose. Therefore, all of the actions that are done later with the created being, we need each time to return to this allegory of the host and the guest, and see in that allegory the implementation step by step of this whole process that is rooted in this story. And there are very deep things here that there are even no words to explain them, especially in that the guest feels shame, and he works with the shame as a leverage. In spite of the shame, he's willing to feel shame later. He doesn't care about the shame for himself, but he turns this shame to the opposite of it towards the host. He turns it into love, and out of that we need to understand that there are stages where the guest, the created being, needs to get to know his whole nature, his whole will to receive, up to its most despicable and lowly form. As a receiver, he should also get to know the great shame to the extent that the host is revealed in the oppositeness of form, that he is the giver, and the guest is revealed as the receiver, and that he yearns according to his nature only to receive. The guest should realize that this longing to receive doesn't come from the host. Otherwise, if it would be on the account of the host it would be on the level of the beast of the animate level, but rather he developed this longing, and therefore he feels shame towards this longing. This is something very special, as he writes that shame is a feeling that appears only in the high souls, the Nuni souls, and then it is possible to work with this quality in order to invert it into love. It's through an opposite way and direct way, and it includes all the different stages that you might say that they all go against human reason, and so they seem to us as hidden. We don't understand them. And then the spiritual world, meaning all the processes that our desire goes through, it is hidden from us, hidden from our intellect, from our feeling, because we are not yet in this development. There's no hiding like in this world, where there is concealment through time, place, or movement, but rather concealment in spirituality is concealment through, because of the development of the created being, and therefore the advancement can be through faith above reason, meaning in the attainment of spirituality, against the determination of the present states. Faith means a feeling, the feeling of the present reality, and above reason, it means that each time this feeling, the state that is revealed, this state is revealed in the opposite form, that is undesirable, and cannot be identified in advance to the created being. But whichever way you look at it, what we learn later in the entire preface to the wisdom of Kabbalah, and in general in the whole wisdom of Kabbalah, is the realization of this allegory of the host and the guest. So please, item 16. From the above allegory between two friends, we can understand the matter of coupling by striking and the reflected light that rises through it, which then becomes new vessels of reception for the upper light instead of phase 4. We can compare the upper light which strikes the screen and wants to expand into phase 4 to the pleading to eat, because as he yearns for his friend to receive his meal, the upper light desires to expand to the receiver, and the screen which strikes the light and repels it can be likened to the friend's rejection and refusal to receive the meal, since he rejects his favor. This means that we see here in this story that even though we say that the upper light, the direct light, comes to the created being and wants to enter into him, so we say so, but according to the allegory, the will to receive, desire, feels within itself that it wants the refreshments, the upper light, and it draws it, meaning it is not that the upper light comes and pressures the desire, but rather the desire wants the upper light, the pleasure. This means that everything happens inside of the created being. It's just that the created being interprets it in a way that seemingly there is something on the outside that operates on it, but in truth, it is impressed within it itself. The desire feels the pleasure that seemingly exists on the outside, and that this pleasure is pressuring it. And actually, it is the desire that awakens towards this pleasure that is also felt within. The host does not pressure. If I didn't have a desire, I wouldn't feel his pressure. But rather, it is my desire that gives me the feeling that this is pressuring me. And this is with respect to anything that is happening to us in this world, with respect to the relationships between us, with respect to everything. If not for our desires, will we feel that he is relating to me this way and he's relating to me that way? No. Meaning our desires determine our image of reality. Just as you find here that precisely the refusal and rejection have been inverted and become appropriate vessels to receive his friend's meal, you can imagine that the reflected light that rises by the striking of the screen and its rejection of the upper light became new vessels for reception for the upper light instead of phase 4, which served as a vessel of reception prior to the first restriction. What's the difference between the directed light and reflected light? In the reflected eye there is coarseness. So reflected light means direct light plus coarseness, the coarseness of the vessel, meaning its desire to use the coarseness in order to relate back to the host. Now reflected light is not just plain refusal. What does it mean, refusal? It doesn't want because and here. There's a question why. Because of what? That's the intention. It could be that it is rejecting it. Because it feels shame. It cannot allow the host to harm its honor, as it is with us in our life. I'm ashamed. What does it mean? I'm ashamed. I have self-respect, self-honor. And as much as my self-respect allows me, I'm willing to make this calculation. So I make this calculation. And it could be that I make the calculation already with respect to the host because I want to do good to him. Or I make the calculation towards the host because I love him. So there are many calculations here with respect to me as a receiver, that I will not be harmed because I receive. And there are calculations where I already stop thinking about myself, that I will not be harmed, and I relate to the host how to do good to him, and so forth. So the calculations, those calculations between the receiver and the giver, those calculations in and of themselves determine if the calculations are in the direction of the receiver because of his shame, because of his pleasures, because of his calculations with respect to his suffering. If the calculations are with respect to the receiver, it is called corporality. And then the receiver only feels himself. It is considered that he is in this world. If the calculations are with respect to the host, that I do not take myself into consideration, but rather I use myself as a vessel of giving, of bestow to the host, in order to give him pleasures. And whatever will come out of it for myself, I don't even take that into consideration. This is called without self-benefit, meaning that here I'm above the restrictions. I don't care about my individual suffering or pleasures, but rather the suffering or pleasure only, determined according to what the host receives from my action. If it is so, if we can calculate the action in such a way, it is considered that a person is in the upper world, in the spiritual world that is above his nature, and then he feels not himself, which is called this world, but rather he feels the host, the state of the host, which is called that he feels the creator, the upper force, the upper world, and this determines in which world he exists, in this world or in the spiritual world. This means that it is only our inner relation to the state that we exist in, right? We by that determine in which world we will live, we will feel, we will exist. Yes, when we say that the Kabbalist lives in both two worlds, so it's not in two worlds. He can live one time in this and the other time in that. No, he can't. The two worlds that we were talking about here are one world in considering myself, and the other world is in considering only the Creator. There is a state which is also the state of our body, this physical body that does not change, the still, which is not a world. It is simply existence, which, and the states of our body are unrelated to the corporeal world or the spiritual world in order to receive or in order to bestow, but rather this is just something that exists in and of itself. Just like animals and beasts, it is the same with our body. It's only just like that, and it is not better than animals in any way. It lives out of the feeling of itself and the feeling of the environment just like any animal, and in its functioning towards itself or the society, there cannot be calculations of in order to receive or in order to bestow the change according to the Creator, but rather these are all only bodily calculations, just like a beast, and it's not even considered egoistic. We have, let's say, our physical bodily desire air with the five senses. Above it, there is on the left keeper shell and on the right kasher holiness. These are the true desires of in order to receive and in order to bestow, in intentions. And what happens down here for us? This is just some sort of existence that doesn't change. When a person up here goes to build himself all the way to the end of correction, all the way to the end of correction. The state in which his body exists does not change. It has to reincarnate each time to exist in his body until he reached the end of correction. Why? Because all the states that he's going to correct here, each and every state is a new state, which he begins from zero, and with it he reaches, until he realizes it 100%. So when he only starts it from zero until he realizes at 100%, realization of a certain degree, then in that degree he has to stand as though he was just born. So it turns out that he only exists in the physical, the bodily desire. This is called Jimin from the marketplace in each and every state. And so we have to also exist in a body where there is this connection between the degrees, where every degree begins with me existing only in my body. Yes, however, this was established only in the of, not in the perfume of the shells. And in this world where phase 4 itself is considered the vessels of reception. Hence they are separated from the upper light, since the disparity of form in phase 4 separates them. For this reason, the shells are considered wicked and dead, as they are separated from the life of lives by the will to receive in them. Yes, how does a person determine that the Creator is able to enjoy his giving? This all takes place within the person, as the will to receive develops, and inside, the will to receive K and Malat and the HB between them begin to be felt. Then he feels all in all this reality called that there is someone who bestows the Keter and someone who receives the Mal, and someone between them called the In between, by which he can bestow from one to the other, from the other to the first, from two. All of the processes in the vessel exist in its tens and wrote, and there is his entire world of the person, and out of that he determines who is the Creator, who is the created being, what are the relations between them. It is all inside the vessel. Outside of the vessel there is nothing. As we said before, even direct light, the created being feels that the light comes, that there is pleasure, and it wants to enter him. Out of what does he feel it? He feels that his desire awakens, and he feels that there is some pleasure. From where does he feel it? Is there pleasure on the outside? No, but rather, this pleasure is felt inside of the created being as seemingly still, standing before him, that he didn't yet completely enter into his desire as a feeling, but it exists already in his vessels, but in vessels that do not yet reach phase 4. This is why it is considered that they come from the outside, and this is how all of the processes take place inside of the created being. Later on it seems to him that he's giving outside of himself to the Creator. From where does he know it? What does it mean outside of him to the Creator, but rather from face? For that feels itself as receiving. He develops an attitude towards the giver, which is the image of the Creator in the vessel, that he is giving that to the Creator, and it all takes place inside of the created being. All of the wills, all the purim, all of the discernments, all of the actions, none of that comes out of the created being. So it turns out that the upper light is in absolute rest. There is something on the outside that invites within us all kinds of actions, but all of the actions take place inside the vessel, and they're registered in a vessel as records, screens, etc. It all happens in the vessel. This is why the Creator and boy is called come and see. This is what we attain inside the vessel. Seeing, meaning actual attainment, it's inside the vessel. It cannot be outside the vessel, just like any attainment. So basically, what's changing? Everything changes only inside the created being. Outside of the created being we cannot say anything. It is his self. The upper light exists in absolute rest. You cannot influence it in any way. You cannot operate on it in any way. Everything happens inside the created being, but it doesn't lower the importance of our work, because out of that we feel that the upper light, this is what he did. This is what he wants. Even though he in himself exists, in complete rest, there are things here that are impossible to explain now. It's just words, and we have no perception of that. But nevertheless, whether we understand it or not, these points are important, because they position us with the right relation to our work, to the corrections, to the inner change. You might say are so everything that changes is all in all my inner feeling, the inner calculation, what I think inside, but is true, but this is everything, and this is important, and there is nothing beyond that. So maybe you can't grasp it, but it's just that you don't know how important these things are. So where is this someone that I give to? Is it someone that I imagine on by myself? Yes, this someone, let's say the Creator, is what you imagine within yourself, but rather what you bring out your hand, or your leg, your eye outside of you, and you see him somewhere. No, you perceive him inside of you. So whether you perceive him or not, I don't know what it means on the outside. It's his image inside of the created being, and when the created being begins from his structure to feel why is he built in such a way, and he reaches the root, then out of that he nevertheless understands the intentions of the one who created him. You can call it the kit, but this is the one who created me as my root. We've learned that who is the Creator? The Creator is my next degree. It's me in my next degree. If I speak about all the sequence of degrees in my development, I always imagine my next state as the Creator. I cannot imagine more than that to myself. The Supreme, the Bestower, the Great, that is all above me. When I work on myself, I get help, support. Then I advance towards the state, and I identify with it, and I adhere to it. I equalize with it. When I equalize with him, and I become like him. Beloved friends, we want to study the Torah, and we just heard what it means to study the Torah in the first part of the lesson. We will hear from the words of Ra. This is a very moving. It will give us the right intention for our entire lesson. What does it mean that I study Torah? That I hope that in what I read here, that there's some inner force in there that's influencing me and changing me. It opens my heart. It opens my mind, which directs me to feeling the inner force of creation. I'll feel that mostly in the heart, because the heart is my emotions and the person is an emotion, so that my will to receive will open up and become more and more sensitive to all kinds of influences from studying Torah. There, can you hear me? You hear? We heard Rav, and now it is time to hear the friends. As Rav said, we need to speak. We need to speak, but the heart should speak. Can we choose a quote that we think it has everything? We always ask, let's say in Shamari. Shamari, it is written a person should. You should, and we always ask where is the 10 here, where is the group? And here there is actually a quote by Balasim from his letter 34, where he aims, he directs everything to the 10, to the group. He says he writes it for us so we should feel it. And we'll divide this quote into a few parts and talk about it. We're going to have some action today. So, it's very important to have this source in front of us from the document. Everything is attained through the power of prayer. We'll read from excerpt number 10. Writes, we rush our pleas above knock, by knock tirelessly, endlessly, and do not weaken at all when he does not answer us. We believe he hears our prayer, but waits for a time when we have the 2 vessels to receive the faithful bounty, and then we will receive a reply to each and every prayer at once, since the hand of the Lord will not be short. God forbid. Let's read again. We rush our pleas above, knock by knock, tirelessly, endlessly, and do not weaken at all when he does not answer us. We believe he hears our prayer, waits for a time when we have the vessels to receive the faithful bounty, and then we will receive a reply to each and every prayer at once, since the hand of the Lord will not be short. God forbid. I can't hold myself. Because there are many states here. We can divide it into 5 states. Let's say the exposition we rush our pleas above, like that we rush our pleas above all the time. The turning point is that he doesn't answer us even though he doesn't answer us. And what states do we go through? We need faith in order to hold on. We need a vessel even though we think that we already achieved it, but a vessel. These are states that we go through. And then there is a categories here that we will receive a reply for each and every prayer at once. There are many states here that he put into these few lines. So, let's really divide it and work on each and every part of this quote. And from each such quote and each word and each gap between words, we want to draw the light of Torah that will change our heart, that will connect us, that will open our heart to feel what the Coolest wants to communicate to us. So we'll read the first part of the article. Writes to us. We rush our pleas above. Knock by knock, tirelessly, endlessly, and do not weaken at all when he does not answer us. We would really like this sentence to happen within us. And there's a big question here. How is this possible? We also feel the questions the friends ask after many years that come from pain, true search, true longing for change. We see most of our questions we see are how to turn, how to hold on to the prayer, especially when he says that he does not answer us, and we do not weaken at all. We also heard yet read yesterday that the Creator is silent, and we must not misinterpret his silence and be silent ourselves. On the contrary, we need to strengthen our plea to him and tirelessly knock by knock endlessly. That's why we wish this would happen in us. The question is really how can we do such a thing tirelessly, endlessly, especially when the Creator doesn't answer us. That's what we want to talk about. Can this sentence take place within us? And how that's our question for the first workshop. How can we ask tirelessly, especially when the Creator doesn't answer us? How can we ask tirelessly, especially when the Creator does not answer us? 6 minutes will give that. Well, seemingly, when a baby cries, when he is in pain or he wants something, does he care if he's getting an answer or not? He's crying from within. He cries out. He wants it now. That's it. He doesn't have the intellect to stop, because nobody hears him, because that's what he feels, that nobody is hearing him. But rather he cries. When a person lacks something and he cries, here, of course, is talking about something completely different, about a new degree of a request and a prayer when we ask to be connected to him, and we realize why he's not answering us. And we realize that by him not answering us, he's actually guarding us, and he wants our benefit, and this is the way of the development. And he's expecting us to continue. This is why we continue, and we do not stop, because by the very fact that we continue, we are actually in contact with him. I want to add that it's all with the force of the society. We can see these examples in our society about friends that are relentlessly investing, exerting, participating, incorporating, helping, integrating everything relentlessly. And this is not logical. This is only logical because they give the opportunity for the society to bestow upon them the new values, those foundations of what drives them, and how they get there. And because there's so much importance of the society, then the part of the Creator that needs to be revealed is already not the which tips the scale to the right or the left for a person, but only the friends who give him to each that those values and nourish him with forces endlessly, not non-stop without fatigue. Because you're in an environment like this, in a society like this, even when the Creator doesn't answer, there are a lot of different angles on the way to look at this. Maybe one way is to respect the words of Balasim, that he writes such a thing that we have to keep knocking relentlessly, to try and take it like a doctor's prescription who knows exactly what he's saying, and to try and strengthen and the faith in our sages. So we'll be able to keep doing it, engaging in it, and drawing the light. That reforms that will eventually do everything. Also, not having an answer is a form of an answer. The very fact that we manage to pray is already a reward. And why should we demand anything beyond that in place of it? And therefore, there's already something to be thankful for if we're in a state that demand and request of knock after knock after. Oh, this is the very fact that, even if he's not answering, but if I manage to keep asking, it already says that I actually received the forces to continue and bestow to the friends. We're trying to build a type of system, like an economic system, that each one if each one was only towards the Creator. So obviously we'd be tired and lack of faith and despair, and just run away. But if we bring the 10 into this economic system, so I don't have a role anymore, but I'm like someone presenting the 10 to the Creator and asking for them. This is the work. Whether I get an answer or not, I have work to do. Give this request to the Creator to bug him, to drive him crazy until he reaches despair for my pleas, and truly gives us the complete vessel that he can answer. What gives fuel to the desire to receive, even before it's organized, is like the friend said, the environment that can impact him with new values and new calculations, and he'll do everything. And this is upon the will to receive. It's not even something above that. So to absolutely do that in such a way, non-stop, is only if the environment impacts you, influences you in such a powerful way, whoever is willing to enter it and can continue non-stop, each of us. Yes, friends. So we heard the answers. We're listening to the focus group and we were sure that this answer came up in every 10-bit, but we'll read it also from words from yesterday in the lesson. Where does a person get forces to keep turning to the Creator if he doesn't see a response? That's number 2. Where does a person get the force, the power to keep turning to the Creator if he doesn't see a response? A person gets this power from the environment where all the friends in the group need to be under this general pressure between them, and they connect between them, and this way they keep going until the Creator answers. I have to feel that the friends are also turning to the Creator. Also the friends are turning to the Creator, and it could be that they feel like me, that everything is silent. But eventually, the prayer of the many is what takes the Creator out of concealment into revelation. When I see the world clear, I always may be for 20-30 years I'm together with him, I look at him, I'm like, how do they hold on? It's like when he said when he writes her knock after knock constantly, they're in upliftment, spirit, high spirits, they're always like that. Okay, I think while we're in front of Raf, he's holding us like this, and we're physically next to him. So you understand what is this force of the environment. You understand what it is that the friends are giving us the forces, and we will continue. You want to go deeper in excerpt number 10. So let's read it again. We rush our pleas above knock by knock, tirelessly, endlessly, and do not weaken at all when he does not answer us. We believe he hears our prayer but waits for a time when we have the vessels, like we hold on to the faith. Now our question is, what do we hear from the friends that holds us in this faith? What do I hear from my friend that can give us and hold us? Yeah. Do we get confidence from our friends in the 10 in the world? So again, the question for the workshop. Do I hear from the friend that gives me confidence that the Creator is hearing our prayers? 6 minutes, please. First of all, even before I hear anything, I see my friends and get an example from them. That's the greatest influence of all. I see them every day in the lesson, where I see them investing in connection in the 10 that they care. When I see them taking roles, or I see them living a life in corporality and necessity that's not simple, and upon that they're doing everything, arranging their lives in such a way that nothing else matters to them. They're going for the goal, and that's not something that you see in our life On the outside, we don't have such examples, we just have this example here. That's why this is the most special and important place in life. Let's hope that we could appreciate what a gift the Creator gave us for putting us in such an environment amongst such friends, that the importance of the goal is truly being exhaled out of them, and we need this nourishment every day, every minute in order to advance that. It's here between us. Great question gives an opportunity to think what works between us, and it's not just the words I hear, specific words, it's changes that I see in the friend, how he's bestowing more than yesterday, going through changes, doing inner work. I guess I didn't think about it before in this way, but I guess that's if someone organizes the connection between all of us, all kinds of examples, physical, and this way, I don't just here even see my friends, that they're in bestow. And how did they get there? By the light, bestowing upon them and inverting them and made them bestowers. It's all a result of the work that we're doing here for a long time, day after day, knock after knock, and we see the results. The things we hear from the friends, we see, we hear, we feel. That is what helps us draw the light that reforms. Why do I say that? Because the confidence that the Creator hears, He wants to help, He can help. That's through little examples. Maybe I hear that one friend is concerned of a different friend, that he has some issue, or, like it was said here about dissemination and participating in society, meals everywhere, you see the friends relation even more towards a morning lesson, towards love, towards the tens meetings. Every such thing gives us even more confidence to turn to the Creator, and that is maybe that knock after knock, performing two actions on one hand, make effort to reach prayer on the other hand, to invest in one another, to support that each one will have this confidence. Fern, the friends you hear and see the great devotion. How many times during these many years they come again and again and try again and again. In the end of the day, someone's holding onto this thing, and it's special because it's a certain something within reality that is built this way. Suddenly this special group. So you can see that really from the friends we receive this routine of the coming and going and again trying to draw the reforming light, and just to look at it and try to adhere to it. A friend is who takes me on his shoulders, and even though I have a resistance, he pushes me up the mountain towards the quality of bestow, and I try not to resist too much. I get from my friends what's most important, the opportunity to reach the Creator. Right, friends? So we heard many confident invoking words. We want to read one more piece here. That's the main point of what we understand here. That's we're lacking the vessel, the clee. So we'll read again the beginning, and it goes this way again. In excerpt number, we rush our pleas above, knock by knock, tirelessly, endlessly, and do not weaken at all when He does not answer us. We believe He hears our prayer, but waits for a time when we have the vessels to receive the faithful bounty. So it's clear that He's waiting for us to make this click, the last prayer that will have a vessel, and then that's that He will answer right away. And there's a clip by. Find out what this clee is that needs to be common for us. That team found a very special clip where Rob explains specifically about this excerpt and what the vessel is, what the clee is. So it's here, let's be impressed, and we will want after that to scrutinize what is this clee that Rob is guiding us towards, so that we will attain this loyal, abundant abundance that the Creator awaits to give us. So please, clip number 6. What we just read. The Creator is waiting till we have the vessels. What are those vessels that we need to prepare, and how? A deficiency to bestow through the friends to the Creator. That's our vessel. And therefore from this deficiency to bestow to the friends through to the Creator, through the friends we connect between us and present ourselves to the Creator. We want Him to delight from giving and being revealed between us. Try to think in that direction and you will see how much that will advance you, even though it's opposite our nature. There are those who hear this and can't agree. I understand. But gradually as we talk about this, the light and apparates upon us and reforms us. Look how everything is put together. We hear from love to bestow to the Creator, bestow to the friends. And here he builds a sentence, bestow through the friends to the Creator. So either way, you need to gather them. You have to bring them in. You have to gather all their prayers and then to build a vessel from it. Then you'll have a prayer. So we have a question. Yes, we have a question. I think we'll watch this clip again because it's really short and every time I hear it, I'm like, wait, so what do we need? What's the clip? So actually that's our question. What is the key that the Creator waits for us to be able to fill the abundance in? That's the question and that's the difficulty how to do it. But let's hear again and then we'll enter the workshop right away. That's the secret of our success. About the excerpt we just read. The Creator waits us until we have the vessels. What are those vessels that we need to prepare and how to prepare them? What deficiency to bestow through the friends to the Creator, that is our vessel. That's why, through that deficiency to bestow, through the friends to the Creator, we connect between us and present ourselves to the Creator. We want Him to enjoy, Him being revealed between us. Try and think in that direction. You'll see how much it helps you advance. Even though it's opposite of our nature, there are such that hear it, and they can't even agree. I understand. But gradually when we talk about it, the light works and reforms us. What are the vessels we need to prepare? And how to prepare them? Please, 6 minutes, sowing in one another, in our efforts, in our work through the connection with the friends, to build a vessel that can give contentment to the Creator. So we build this vessel. Each one does it in a personal effort. But when we incorporate all the efforts, that's the vessel that the Creator can be revealed in. That's called between us. Not one towards the 10 and another. One towards the 10. Combining our efforts and presenting them to the Creator. That is the vessel. Simply remember during the words of Rav and the teachers who are guiding us through all these authorities and our sources where gives his personal commitment and says that this is how you will fulfill all your lacks, engaging in love of friends, and more, such special excerpts that give us guidance that we have a special society and that we were chosen to enter it. And this is our matter upon which we can develop and where we can reach the Creator. And this is the only thing we need to work towards the Creator with. Not just be a group, but a group with a purpose of adhesion with the Creator. There for all that we do, in order for Him to be revealed in us, to do it for Him to bring us here. And that's why He chose us. What's concealed from us is the connection we have between us. But the example gave is to give us advice to follow even when we don't see it in our eyes or feel it. Feel what's going on between us, that we're one unit. Think we're like separated pieces, and each one is supposedly for himself. So, if we'd feel that we're one unit, everybody would run